So we're starting out with a bit of news.
Yeah. Let's just talk about the news.
Okay, a bit of news.
The weekend news.
Weekend news. Yeah.
No, weekend news. Weekend news.
Weekend news.
Yeah.
Welcome. I'm your host, Marco Kidwell. I'm here with Keida, Mascaro in the cave in Los Angeles, California.
Oh my God, that's great.
And you are in the Whirlwind.
And this is the weekend news section of today's broadcast.
Yeah, just a bit of news. Just a little bit of news.
Yep.
We have Trump tariffs. We have a DC Mid Air collision. Fun stuff all around.
So friendly and gentle.
The tariffs have been announced. They were announced yesterday. And I thought we might take a look at what tariffs are. There's a wiki article that you can pull up there.
Yeah.
If you want to.
I already pulled it up.
Okay. And we have Juan Brown giving us some information about the air crash over DC, which I like the guy and I like the way he handles things, and he has some, pointers to counter some of the hysterical stuff coming out of the White House.
Yeah.
About DEI and all that. So
where do you want to start?
Let's start with tariffs.
Okay.
Tariffs have historically served as a key. I'm just reading from the Wikipedia article here.
Yep.
Tariffs have historically served as a key role in the trade policy of the United States. Their purpose was to generate revenue for the federal government and to allow for the import substitution industrialization of a nation by replacing imports with domestic production.
Got it.
Okay. That's one thing. Trump has made it clear that this is also to put pressure on these countries to stop the flow of fentanyl.
Okay.
And also the illegal immigration coming mostly from Mexico.
I'm wondering how a tariff has anything to do with, how is that going to...
No, it's supposed to put pressure on them because they're supposedly not doing anything about it, which...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not a direct, it's more of a...
It's a political thing. It's a posturing thing.
Got it.
I think mainly the reason for it is that Trump is going to propose huge tax cuts for his wealthy donors, and he needs to fund it, and he's going to fund it with tariffs.
Yeah, so let's talk about exactly how a tariff works.
Okay, well, it's interesting that the Coast Guard, that what we now call the Coast Guard, was started out in the Wikipedia article. It talks about this.
Okay.
The Coast Guard was set up to collect revenue for ships coming in and bringing products from other countries into the United States. And so that's what funded, I think there's a graph here. That's what funded this government until what? Until about 1833, something like that. All that yellow there on that plot is okay. So
like 1942.
Yeah.
Between 1934 and there was a peak. What is the red? Red is income tax. It started around 1916.
Yeah, and yellow is tariffs.
Yeah.
So the government of the United States was funded for over a century by tariffs. I did not know this.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of this. And it's still more, we collect more revenue from, the government collects more revenue from tariffs than it does from income tax, which I also think is an interesting fact.
Well, and in the way, to my understanding with tariffs, like a tariff on China.
Yeah.
China doesn't pay for the tariff.
They do, but then they jack up their price.
No. It's not China. That's the person who's at the port.
Right.
In America.
Right. Yeah.
That has to pay for
They pay for the increase. They have to pay that.
They have
tariff.
to take they're the ones that have to pay for it. And that then gets transferred to
prices. Yeah.
So in a sense, you could argue that it's another form of tax on, it's almost like another kind of sales tax is a way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Because it affects any product and
So he is proposing taxes on a 25% tax on Canada and 25% tax on Mexico. Now, this is specific to certain products. So, for example, there's going to be a 10% tax on energy from Canada, or in other words, oil and gas. So, gas prices are going to go up.
I'm assuming, is the aluminum in there? I know aluminum
Yeah,
is
there are a lot
big
of resources.
import.
Yeah, and I think there's something else, not boron, but there's another element that,
We're going to get completely clobbered in the comment sections. There's going to be some like tariff warriors that school us in the comments, which we
I
want
appreciate that.
Yeah.
No. We want, look.
We're not experts on this.
We're the slaves left over by Plato and Socrates. Okay,
That's right.
We were lost causes that.
We're the leftovers that are left in the Cape.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they Plato said, guys, we're putting the fire out. Huddle up for warmth. Okay.
All right. So, do we want to watch some video?
Yeah, let's watch some video. Let's watch.
Today, the United States informed us they will be imposing 25% tariffs on Canadian exports to the United States and 10% on Canadian energy. A decision that, should they elect to proceed with, should take effect on Tuesday, February 4th. Cette décision met en péril une relation économique historique. Une relation qui a été la source de tellement de richesses, de prospérité et de possibilités des deux côtés de la frontière. Tonight, first, I want to speak directly to Americans, our closest friends and neighbors. This is a choice that, yes, will harm Canadians, but beyond that, it will have real consequences for you, the American people. As I have consistently said, tariffs against Canada will put your jobs at risk, potentially shutting down American auto assembly plants and other manufacturing facilities. They will raise costs for you, including food at the grocery stores and gas at the pump. They will impede your access to an affordable supply of vital goods crucial for U.S. security, such as nickel, potash, uranium, steel, and aluminum. They will violate the free trade agreement that the President and I, along with our Mexican partner, negotiated and signed a few years ago. But it doesn't have to be this way. As President John F. Kennedy said many years ago, geography has made us neighbors, history has made us friends, economics has made us partners, and necessity has made us allies.
Wow.
Yeah. It's, I have friends in Canada and I haven't contacted them yet, but I want to, the one friend is, his wife is pregnant. He's got a kid on the way. And I just wonder, he was talking about buying a house and, he's got a job. He's a school teacher and he'll probably keep that, but everything's going to be more expensive. I wonder if he's going to be able to, move closer to his family. He's Quebecois. He's from Quebec, and he lives in Sherbrooke. Right now, he's in Trois-Rivières, and he'll move. He wanted to move to Sherbrooke. I think all these people are going to be affected by this. It's really kind of sad.
And I can't imagine how many. What's so interesting about this is that the very base that voted for Trump and his administration are going to be the people that are likely to get hit the worst with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, here's what I'm going to be interested in. What's this administration going to do to take the focus off of that pain point?
Well, let's talk about the DC mid-air crash that's been caused by DCI or DEI. Right.
Hold on. Before we do that, I want to see if I can find this. I know it was D.L. Hewley who, let me just see if I can find this.
Okay.
If anybody under 50 is watching this, please tell us. I should have saved the video. That's like what I usually do is send you a link.
Yeah. You should have sent it to me.
I know. What the fuck is wrong with me?
I don't know.
Well,
I do. But
you're in
we
the
don't
same
have
room.
time.
All right. All right. So what is the next thing? All right. So Potomac Air.
Yeah, Juan Brown.
Okay.
Brown.
Let's see.
So here we have this mid-air collision, and in the midst of all this tragedy, Trump comes out with this DEI. It's DEI that caused this crash. Ron Brown comes out, and this is what he's going to talk about in terms of the actual points of investigation.
I mean, it's just insane. I mean, I don't even know how to respond to this kind of stuff now, because I know that like what this administration wants is people like us to go fucking crazy about this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how many times I feel like,
you
know what it is? This administration is like Lucy with the football, and we're like, and the liberals and leftists are in middle of the roaders are like Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
And we keep trying to kick the fucking ball,
and he keeps pulling it
and
out.
you know what I mean? It's like, but it begs the question: what is the appropriate response to this onslaught of nonsense? Like throwing DEI on this situation.
Well, I think it's, I mean, I know what my personal, mission is in dealing with this, and that is to come out with the truth as I understand it and be straightforward and tell the truth as best I know it.
All right.
And that's, I mean, what else can we do?
I don't know. Maybe someone in the comments can tell us.
Yeah.
All right. So, here's a clip from,
okay.
Who is this?
This is Juan Brown. He is a pilot and has been a pilot since he bought his first plane at 15 years old. And I think he's a commercial airline pilot. I think he's retired now, or I don't know, doing so. He's certainly doing this channel. He's got a large channel. And I really like the way he has got a matter-of-fact approach to explaining what goes on.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thursday morning, the 30th of January, we now have a lot more information about the tragic mid-air collision between the military helicopter and the American Airlines regional jet while on final approach to runway 33 at Washington's Ronald Reagan International Airport. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. Let's check it out.
So pause it here for a minute so I can let you know what's going on, because the lead up to this is where he explains all these symbols. So the upper one says Pat 25. That's a helicopter from the Air Force Base that's just to the north of the airport. Mm-hmm. It's coming down along the river, the Potomac River, and it's supposed to maintain an altitude of 200 feet. That's the maximum altitude for it. The other plane,
JIA 5342.
Yeah, 5342 is the plane that gets knocked out of the sky. It's PSA affiliate. I can't remember. It's American Eagle, and it's going
like one of the smaller
up.
jets.
Now, what happens is normally the planes are lined up. You see that little figure up there that looks like a sideways tent, crossbar. That north-south runway, north-south bar is a runway, which is normally where planes land. But if there's a lot of crowding, they will send them off to that runway that goes at a diagonal up northeast.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's what's happening here. This plane, CRJ 5342, has been diverted to go up to and curve around. They call it a dog leg for some reason. I'm not sure why. And curve around and then take that slanted runway instead of the main runway. And that puts it right into the path of this Pat 25 helicopter.
Yeah, and also there was only one air traffic controller for some reason in that tower, from what I understand.
When
there should have been two.
Yeah.
Apparently that's the
Yeah. Well, but you know,
let's listen to this
let's
guy.
listen. Yeah.
He's more expert than me.
American 16, turn to 1 star 32, turn to 1 4, Duck 25, traffic 2 mile low base runway 33, no delay, runway 1 clear for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Pat 25, get the CRJ in flight. Pat 25, pass behind the CRJ.
This club has a aircraft in flight, press with separation.
Good separation.
American 4782 by Pat, now for a visual.
American 472, Washington, 1 star 32, 17.
As we look at these two targets merge, check out the altitude, Pat 25 at 200 feet as required on the route. It looks like he's slightly to the right of the route. Now he's up to 300 feet. He's 100 feet high. The CRJ descending to 500 feet, 400 feet, and then finally 400 feet.
So what's happened is that the tower there's an alarm system that is notifying I believe it's notifying the air traffic controller that there's a potential conflict here. And so he radios the military helicopter, "Do you see the airplane?" And the military helicopter says, "Yes, I see it. Can I have visual approach?" In other words, I'm taking responsibility to make sure I don't collide. I see him and I'm going to take appropriate action.
Pat 25 still at 300 feet. There, the altitudes merge right at the collision. I also want to point out this. There's another aircraft behind the RJ that was involved in the collision, another American Airlines Jet 3130. Remember, the CRJ is owned by PSA Airlines, is a fully owned subsidiary of American Eagle, but has the call sign of Blue Streak. But this second aircraft behind the RJ may have been the aircraft that the helicopter mistakenly picked up on. Or he could have been picking up one of the aircraft that were taking off. It's more likely than not that the crew of the helicopters picked up on the wrong target to see and avoid.
Yeah. So now the next thing is, if we go to 934, Juan Brown is going to give you his viewpoint on what the investigation should focus on.
I bet it's going to be DEI.
Yeah.
How much you want to bet on that?
So a lot of holes in the classic Swiss cheese model of accident investigations that the NTSB will be reviewing, including the runway change from runway 1 to runway 33, which put these two aircraft on a more tighter collision course, the altitude control of the helicopter on his training flight getting above 200 feet right directly into the way of the airliner, the possible use of night vision goggles, if that was a factor, that could certainly limit your situational awareness and your ability to see and avoid visually. The late call out by the air traffic control tower to the helicopter asking him if he sees the RJ in sight after the air traffic controller got the collision avoidance warning there in his cab. The fact that night visual approaches, trying to see and avoid, that the lights of the aircraft, especially if they're oncoming directly to you, tend to blend in with the lights of the city behind you. Flying C-130s up at the Reno National Guard for years, coming into Reno, it was very difficult to see your formation partner aircraft in front of you, as they would tend to blend into those city lights. The separate frequencies that the two different aircraft were operating on, giving you only half of the situational awareness that you would normally have if you could hear both sides of the conversation. And finally, the limits of TCAS, traffic collision avoidance systems, with the present technology, where resolution advisories are disabled below 1,000 feet to avoid sending one aircraft into a descending RA into the ground, plus the limitation of no oral warnings from the TCAS below 500 feet. All these things are going to be looked at closely in this investigation.
Okay. So that's really, DEI didn't come up.
Maybe it's next chapter of this.
Yeah. I just, so I really appreciate the thoroughness there. When he said the late transmission by the air traffic controller, he wasn't saying that the air traffic controller was late with he said it was like right up near the incident. That's what he's talking about. Yeah, just to be clear about that.
And what's interesting about this too, and I also heard that, like I said a second ago, that there is a dramatic shortage. Dramatic's not the right word. There's a shortage. There's a shortage of air traffic controllers, apparently.
Yeah.
Like I think I read, and we need to check this out, that there should be 30 full-time air traffic controllers in this particular airport, and there's 19.
Yeah.
So they're doing, double time. 6 days a week, 10-hour a day shifts, which is insane.
And they have people's lives in their hands. And
apparently knowing someone that is an air traffic controller, apparently it's an unbelievably stressful, as you can imagine.
Oh, I imagine it was stressful before they were, this goes back to the Reagan administration, when he broke the air traffic controller union. So, I mean, this is one more time an example of how labor unions get broken, people's lives get lost.
Yeah. Something that I wish I heard more of, an explanation. Why in the world are there why would there be a military helicopter route going in the middle of an airport?
This is right near Washington, D.C. This
I know.
Is right. So
My brother lives literally a mile away from this airport.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I've flown into this airport.
Well, this is, there's military bases. This is controlled airspace, especially since 9/11. And there are VIPs coming in and out of this airport all the time. So they're using the military transport. Apparently this helicopter is, I forget what they call it, but it's called a gold crown or gold top helicopter. It's that helicopter that it's the one that's, looks ornamental. It looks, what do they call it? It's for carrying VIPs. And so that's why these helicopters, and this is a training flight.
But it was a training flight. Like, why in the world? It just makes no sense to me that you would have like helicopters that are not doing something essential flying in and out of that space.
Well, they have to train them for that space because it's such a critical space. They have to train them for that. And look, this airport has been operating for years successfully. Okay. I mean, yeah, true. The air traffic controllers are overworked, but this is the first time this has happened in 17 years or something?
Yeah.
It's a long time. So with adequate staffing and following the proper procedures, because that wasn't done here, that helicopter should not have been at 400 feet.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have this situation, and we haven't had this situation.
No, and it does appear to be a staffing issue.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something else. Okay.
I mean, have we gotten to the point where we're, I'm just speaking for myself here. Have I gotten to the point where I'm afraid to get on a plane? I'm afraid to get on the 737 MAX. I will avoid that if I can. And
that's hard to avoid.
Yeah. It is hard to avoid.
So many. I mean, every other plane that I've been on in the last 3 years is a MAX.
Yeah. But I wouldn't avoid the 777 or even the 787, even though it's had its issues. It certainly hasn't had the kind of issues that the 737 MAX has had.
Yeah. I know what I was going to say. Regarding the lack of staffing, there was I'll put the link in the video below this episode. There was a really good article in the New York Times that I read a couple days ago, and it basically talked about, though we have not had, it's been 16, 17 years since we've had a catastrophic situation like this.
Yeah.
There have been an alarming number of near misses, and like there's been an incredible uptick in near disasters in the last 10 years.
Well, yeah. I've noticed this on because I subscribe to ATC, air traffic control. I get little they send you these little shorts that show that have the transmission from different aircraft and the map of the that the aircrafts are that the planes are flying over, and they'll like fire in the cockpit, near miss, a pilot that won't follow instructions. A lot of them.
No. And what was interesting is the reporter for the Times had talked to air traffic controllers off record, and apparently air traffic controllers by contract are not allowed to talk about this to reporters. Interesting, right?
They've got
so there's a couple
agreements.
Yeah, they haven't no they do. Apparently they do. And so she couldn't reveal the source, but it was an air traffic controller. And what was crazy and chilling was she had a conversation with an air traffic controller like a year ago, and this individual predicted this and was like, it's not a matter of if, it's when. And then this happened, and then she got a text from that air traffic controller after this accident and was like, see what I told you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just horrifying.
They're always pushing the envelope. They're always trying to squeeze as much out of the investment as possible.
Yeah, no, I know. It's insane. And on that note, this has been the week in news.
Yes, thank you all.